Hey, welcome back to another episode of these guys that just keep talking about eating meat and can't shut up about it. I'm Tom. We got the usual suspects here. We got Justin, Ray, and of course Joe Zumbu all the way down under. Joe and I wanted to revisit the topic of coffee. We had done a video on coffee, file got corrupted, and then we've learned a lot more about coffee since then. So it just made sense to do it over. So, anyways, Joe really inspired this episode because Joe really loves coffee, but coffee doesn't love Joe so much. So, Joe, why don't you lead in with your little history with coffee here?
Hey guys, so obviously being Italian, we always drink coffee. There's always coffee around the house. So actually, beginning of this year, I cut coffee out for a little bit, for a couple months, and then reintroduced it. Now, I'd be getting up early in the morning, and I'd be having a coffee before I'd go for a bike ride. Then you have a coffee, and you're after the ride, you'd be a little bit social. Then I'll take my son to school, catch up with a friend, and have another coffee. And it was like that for a couple months, and I had some blood work done, and got back my results and found that the coffee that like Tom's drinking there, obviously had a little bit of an impact on my blood test results. So homocysteine level went up, and that goes up as a B12 folate deficiency. On my blood test results, B12 and folate are perfect. So yeah, I mean, my triglycerides, my cholesterol went up by 0.3, which is not much. Still, everything's still within the reference numbers that are on the test. So it was all good. But still they went up a little bit, and then my thyroid went up a little bit as well. So I was at that stage where I spoke to my doctor, and
Paul Mason.
Dr. Paul Mason, yeah, and we came to the conclusion that it's quite possible that it has been because of coffee. So I've cut coffee out, well, that was August the 6th that I saw him, and that was the last time I had coffee. And
take me back a little bit. You had cut back on coffee, and then you started drinking it more regularly, right?
That's right, yeah. But it wasn't one coffee a day. It could get up to about 3 or even 4 coffees at some days. So, in excess. But I mean, I don't really know of many people that drink a coffee. I mean, especially here, they have a coffee, before they go to work, and then they have a coffee on their break, and then they have a coffee, later on in the day because they think it's going to keep them awake. I actually found that by drinking coffee, I was actually more tired.
Probably because it's full of poison.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it could also be that you've got the caffeine in your system. It stays in there for quite a number of hours. Then you find it hard to get to sleep. I mean, my sleep quality's improved. It's the best ever. I've got so much more energy. And to be honest, guys, I don't think I'll ever go back to drinking coffee. Not even social, And look, I've actually replaced it with bone broth at the moment.
So you buying that bone broth at the store, or you making it yourself from scratch?
No, I don't have time to make it from scratch. So I just buy a bone broth concentrate called Best of Bone that we can get over here. And
bone sounds dangerous.
Yeah. And just add some hot water to it, and that's it. So I have that twice a day.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, and then you haven't done the tests over yet, right?
No, I haven't. So my next blood test will be January. And then I see Dr. Mason in February. So it would be interesting. But when you look at all my blood tests, all my numbers have been very, very similar. It's just this last blood test, we could see a few discrepancies. Again, still within the reference range, but you can see there has been a little bit of elevation. And again, we believe it's because of the coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we talked
You're
a lot
drinking
about...
in black? Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so typically I drink an espresso. So it's like a short black.
And you were using a machine that used the little cups, right?
The little pods, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably smaller than that.
I know you had gone through a couple of those machines. Like you had one and you had to replace it, and you got one, you weren't crazy about it. You're thinking about getting another one, and you're very, very, very picky about your espresso.
Yeah, I look, I'm not really happy with this machine, and it doesn't really matter anymore because I don't drink coffee. But when I bought it, it was like, oh, it's coming out. It's pretty weak, the coffee. I like a strong coffee. It wasn't good. So, you'd try one coffee. Oh, I don't like that. I'll buy another blend, and you buy that one there. It's like, I'll try this one. No, I still don't like that one. But yeah, I mean, it's just, then you look into coffee and you start seeing that it is poison. It's an anti-nutrient,
Yeah, you could definitely make the argument that if you're going to drink coffee, don't drink coffee with your food, because you're less likely to absorb the nutrients in your food if you're drinking it with coffee.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, thinking about it, when you start keto, you have your bulletproof coffee. Is that working against you? Because you're putting your MCT oil in it, you're putting in your butter, and then you're eating all this nutrients dense food. But
it works as an appetite suppressant, is what it does. Because one, you tend to put a lot of fat in it, right? You might be putting some heavy cream in there, right? Who doesn't love some cream in their coffee? And then you might be throwing down some MCT oil. Who doesn't like a little oil slick on their coffee? And if you don't want it to be an oil,
it comes
slick,
out like an oil slick as well.
Then you got to get one of these. Oops, I just got all over my keyboard, so this might be a really short video.
We're making another video because everything's going to malfunction.
Maybe that's what went wrong with the last one.
But I mean, the thing is, you're eating all this nutrient-dense food, and then you're drinking coffee. Is it blocking key nutrients?
Right. Yeah, and it's full of all kinds of chemicals. And we'll just start with the fact that caffeine is actually a neurotoxin that the plant generates to deter pests from eating its beans, and that's where we get that stimulating effect from. So that in itself may not be bad for us, but it seems to be all right, but it could be a problem. And then it's got the phytic acid, polyphenols, and all kinds of other stuff in it. So, and we know that a number of those things block the absorption of the nutrients. I think you mentioned how it's like a really social thing to do, though, to drink coffee, right? It's kind of like we always thought it was just like a harmless thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, let's meet for a cup of coffee. It's like a social thing with people.
First date, usually a cup of coffee.
There you go.
You're not going to say to someone, hey, let's catch up for a bottle of water. Let's catch up for a coffee. That's
right. Coffee that's like the starting, the smallest little thing you can do, right? Is go have a coffee.
Well, I think if in the history, only a king or a lord could afford, the beans, and it's one of those things that's, because the elites did it, it's a part of high society, and then it eventually trickled down into the plebeians, the lower masses, and then kind of even everyone up and down the corporate ladder, the coffee pot, everyone gathers around the coffee pot at the office and things like that, so I think that's its appeal. And it, kind of like alcohol, um, other substances, how, oh, you got to try this bean from this one and this blend and that blend. And, there's this exotic blend, and there's a dark roast and a light roast and a medium roast. And then, the espresso, the frappuccino, the mocha frappuccino, the ones with chocolate now and cream. And so, the coffee that I think is now, that we can get is, in a sense, a bastardized form of even just the traditional bean as well, and that's just human nature. We take everything to the extreme, and what's kind of funny to me is being in the psychological realm, in the diagnostic and statistics manual, the DSM, in the DSM-5, um, if you have more than 3 8-ounce cups of coffee a day, you can be clinically diagnosed with caffeine addiction. Yeah. So it's a real disorder in the DSM, which I think is kind of interesting, because a venti, which is the large at Starbucks, is what, like 3.5 cups of coffee or something like that, like the milligrams.
Wow.
I'd
If I'm
imagine it's like 20, 24 ounces, but I don't know.
right, and I know my ex's mother would drink 3 of those a day. Yeah, and I don't know how she slept. I legitimately don't know, like, how she just wasn't having diarrhea and a nervous wreck constantly.
How do
Um,
you know she wasn't?
right. I mean, I suppose
Wearing a diaper.
she hit it well. If
On the
not,
DSM, what are the criterias of a coffee addict?
it's the jittery,
Is it
the
in
night sweat. It's
DSM-4?
difficult. I'm not sure if it's in DSM-4. I know it is in DSM-5 for sure. I could probably look it up if you
I
guys
left
give
it
me a minute.
downstairs. I could go grab it though. I have
I mean, so I'm surprised the DSM doesn't have anything about sugar, because you get all these same symptoms for children who eat a lot of candy.
Right,
Jittery,
right.
That's
One,
what I was curious about. I wonder if there's a one-to-one on that.
Did you guys
yeah,
want?
no, there's
You guys want a cup of coffee? I just brewed a pot.
sure. Give
Okay.
me a cup. You can mail it to me.
There you go. Try to get over
Um,
there.
so I've never really been a big coffee drinker. I've always been a tea person.
I knew
Oolong
something was wrong with
tea,
you.
green tea. I just never liked the taste of coffee. I did have a stint, I think in my early 20s, where I was obsessed with McDonald's iced coffee. That was really good. And I had
Started
it.
right at the top, huh?
There you go. There you
It was full
go.
of sugar. Of course, it was good.
So I did that for a while. I was drinking large of those, and I think I had like 2 larges of those in a day. And then I didn't sleep for a couple of days, and I was like, this is gotta stop. I can't do it. And then the occasional frappuccino, of course, from Starbucks. Um, but never a big coffee person. I did have, so I went to Seattle, and for those that are international, Seattle is known as a huge coffee place, and it's actually where Starbucks originated, was Seattle, um, at Pike's Place Market, just for those that can Google that. Um, and
A little bit
they
of
have
historical trivia.
yeah, they have the original Starbucks there, which I didn't go to, because if you're cool and you know the locals, you go to Ghost Alley Cafe, which is like this tiny hole in the wall coffee spot, which is supposedly legitimately haunted, which is why it's called Ghost Alley Cafe.
Hmm.
And I went there and I had just an Americano, just coffee, cream, but they threw in some turmeric in it, and we could do another episode on turmeric another time. Um, but anyway, that was really good with heavy cream and the turmeric. That was the best coffee I ever had. I could still taste it. And even though I don't drink coffee regularly, if I do go back to Seattle, I probably will go back to Go Sally Cafe and grab another one of those Americanos, because it was truly delicious.
Truly delicious.
Truly delicious.
Yeah. Well, I think all the way dialing all the way back to the fat coffee. A lot of people go keto and then carnivore. They might have started with bulletproof coffee, you know, and that's kind of keto. And I think even if you're not getting a lot of nutrients out of it, the fat and the caffeine are good appetite suppressants. So you are taking in some calories with the fat, and I'm sure the coffee doesn't block the absorption of all that fat. So, you know, it's been successful for a lot of people, you know, and a lot of people are like, I'm not really hungry in the morning. I can do the fat coffee or the bulletproof coffee, and then even extend their fast a little bit by having coffee with a little bit of fat in it. Then they're taking in less calories and certainly less carbohydrates, assuming they don't put sugar in it. So it's interesting. But I like coffee. I enjoy coffee. You know, like Justin said, he never really appreciated the taste of it. You know, my aunt Connie, she loves the smell of coffee, can't drink it, but absolutely loves the smell of it. And that's part of it. You know, it's like, you know, you wake up in the morning a little groggy, you start brewing some coffee, and that aroma hits you. It's a happy smell, you know. Get that up in your nostrils and then sit around and sip a cup of coffee. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we were talking about quantity. You said it was if you drink more than 3 8 ounces, the DSM kind of puts you in a category of caffeine addict.
Yes. Caffeine use disorder. Yes.
So this little cup here is like a traditional. I don't know if these really started as teacups, but you can see it has a tiny handle on it. Like it could barely hold on to that. It's like ridiculously small. And you know, I was talking to uh I don't know if I could use her name, but I was talking to a advisor. I think she was in Hungary, but she's originally from Italy, and she made a comment about Americans. You can see how small this cup is in my hand, right? She's like, yeah. She's like, you Americans, you drink these giant cups of coffee, you know, and I think a lot of places around the world they drink out of these smaller cups like this. And I brought this cup up for the video. These never get used in my house for anything. So this is more of a typical coffee mug, you know,
Wow.
considerably different in size and volume. If I can get the, you know, this is.
Let me go get what the size of the coffee cup I was drinking out of.
And this is just an average size. I mean, this is
Wow.
this is a typical. You know, this is not uncommon to see people drinking coffee out of something like this, right?
Yeah, you don't see that. You don't see that over here.
I mean, here though, I mean, there's people that I knew, you know, that would drink coffee from a big gulp. I don't know if they don't have 7-Elevens in Australia.
Of course we do.
Oh, you have 7-Elevens? But do
Oh,
they
yeah,
have
they're-
You learn
the
something every day.
Yeah,
I
the
did
big
that.
gulp, the big gulp icy. I think they slushy,
it's
whatever it
like
is.
a plastic. It looks like
Plastic, yeah.
it's practically a jug. Is basically what it is. But it's
Yeah.
something like 64 or 68 ounces.
Right.
And like I used to know people that would have that full of coffee.
Yeah.
And they just drink that all day. It's like, how are you even hydrated
Yeah.
at that point? How are you functioning? You know?
Well,
But just
that's one of. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't even think the experts know how much coffee you should be drinking, because a couple of years ago there was a study saying up to 7 coffees a day, you know, but before that was no more than 3 a day, you know, and now they've changed it again. I mean, they don't know. They don't know how much coffee you should be drinking.
Well, they don't know how much water you should be drinking. I mean, that's another.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Let's be honest.
You know, they could say you're supposed to drink 10 glasses of water, 8 glasses of water a day. And even the work that was based on was a volume of water that included the water in your food, right? But that didn't translate into how many glasses they recommended. And it's all over the place because, you know, the amount of water that Justin's going to drink in a day is going to be vastly different than somebody like me because I'm twice his size. you know, and if you go to the gym, you're going to tell me you're going to drink the same amount of water if you didn't work out that day. You can drink the same amount of water if it's 30 degrees, you know, it's close to freezing outside, but, you know, or it's, you know, well beyond the boiling point another day. It's just ridiculous. And I think things like, you know, obviously stimulants like coffee will cause you to urinate more. And then when that happens, you're quite likely losing some of your electrolytes, right? Particularly sodium, right? And I think
Yep.
that's one of the things that sort of triggers things like leg cramps at night and stuff like that, or even during the day. So I think it's ridiculous to say there's a specific amount for anybody, you know?
So I just want to back up my claim here a little bit. So the DSM-5's consumption well in excess of 250 milligrams is needed to define caffeine intoxication. This is defined by the APA. And here, a venti blonde roast from Starbucks is 475 milligrams of caffeine, and that's a 20-ounce cup. The grande, you would still be in excess of intoxication at 360 milligrams. A tall, you're barely right under the line for caffeine intoxications at 270 milligrams.
That's hilarious.
I wonder how many people drink one of them a day, or how
Millions?
many people drink
Oh,
more than one a day. I
Yeah,
should say.
I was gonna say more than one a day. Yeah,
More than one a day. Yeah, I mean,
I know a few people.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's
They'll wait in line to before work and get one, and then after or either one for lunch or after they get off work. So at least two, or if not three, some of them.
Justin. You don't have that Paul Saladino reference handy, do you?
I was
That
gonna
was
grab it. You can give me a minute.
Did
Yeah,
you
that
want me
was-
to
that
share
was-
that link?
Yeah,
you sent?
can you go get it, because it was actually what he wrote in that book is excellent.
Yeah, on the carnivore code.
I'll share this link that
Yeah.
Justin sent
I
while
read
he's
it.
looking for Paul Saladino. You guys see this one here, this article.
Yeah, the DSM-5.
DSM-5 category conditions. So he found it at, I can't quite see the URL. Theravive. But if you look up DSM-5 category and conditions, introduction, symptoms, let's see. We'll put it in the show notes for everybody. So
What about you? What about you, Raymond? Did you ever drink much coffee?
Yeah, in the past, I used to drink one of those, but I used to drink sugar with my coffee. How about that? So I'd have I'd have a big cup with the little bottom where, you know, they have the little bottom where you could put in a cup holder. So it was one of those cups. I filled that bottom part of sugar.
Wow.
Like one of these?
Yeah. Well, not that big of a bottom. Actually,
Right.
you're close, but it's plastic. You've seen the plastic one. So yeah, that little one was the bottom. So I'd fill that up with sugar.
Jesus.
And then I'd put coffee and like one thing of creamer in it. So
That's like a quarter pound of sugar.
yeah, I did a lot of sugar.
Wow.
I was pretty.
Did you get a lot of cavities or?
You know, surprisingly enough, I probably have 5 fillings or so. Not that bad.
It's probably kind of average, right?
Oh no, I mean it went straight to my heart. So let's be honest. So I mean that's why I have such a high calcium scoring scan, and not only that, all my the joint issues I had and stuff like that. So
Did you have any inkling that sugar was bad for you when you were doing that?
heck no idea.
Yeah.
I mean
Just
nobody talked
tasted
about
good.
it. Yeah, it just tasted good. And in a way, in my mind, I was excusing myself because I was avoiding saturated fat back then. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing good.
And maybe the problem isn't coffee. Maybe it's all the things that go with it. Like I was making a joke earlier, like Hey Joe, when you had your coffee, did you want 2 lumps or 3? That's a joke that every American will get because it was always in the cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I got no idea what the hell you're talking about, Tom.
So you throw the joke would be you'd ask for 2 or 3 lumps of sugar, which are like sugar
And-
cubes.
They'd
Okay.
slam them in the head
And the cartoon character would put it in the coffee, but then he'd hit him in the head with a hammer so
Yeah.
he had lumps on his
to
head.
get them a lump
Yeah.
on the head.
Okay.
It's a little stupid humor. And then there's, I don't know, I mean, the MCT oil, right? What did you think about that? That was one of the things we talked about because you said like Dr. Mason said it was fine, right? And we both enjoyed
Well, the one that I was using was fine because he did say to me that there are some brands out there that are a little bit dodgy. So I took in the brand that I was using, and he looked at it and said, "Yeah, look, it's fine. You know, it's a pretty good MCT oil," and he didn't see any issue with it. You know, and again, MCT oil, people think, "Oh, I'll take it for energy." It's not for energy. You might get 5 minutes worth of energy out of it.
right.
Okay. It's more for brain function.
Yeah. So without the coffee, do you do any MCT oil?
No, nothing.
Yeah. So, but you enjoyed the
Nothing at all.
MCT oil, right? You enjoyed the
I did.
alertness it gives you, right?
I did. But see, what I've done
Me
is
too.
I've increased my fat intake. So, you know, I go to my butcher there. I go see Norm at Meat Station in Sydney, and I will get some fat trimmings off him, whether it's lamb or beef, you know, and I found that that's been good, really good for me. But look, I mean, I used to love when I started keto, mate, there was nothing like it, the bulletproof coffee first thing in the morning. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. But
Oh yeah, it's very enjoyable.
you know, but again, now I've stopped the coffee and I've seen the results.
Same. No
And it's
question
like,
about it.
you know, do you want to, you know, and I was also getting a bit of acid reflux because of it as well.
Yeah, I wasn't
But,
sure
you
if
know,
that was the sugar or the coffee on me. So
no,
but
well,
I'm
see,
glad to hear that.
I wasn't having any sweeteners in my coffee
Right.
at all. Okay, no xylitol or erythritol, any of that stuff. But
Mhm.
you know, it would give me reflux. So I could go out and be doing a really hard session on the bike, and I could just all of a sudden I've got this really uncomfortable stomach pain. Cut out the coffee, it's gone. You know, and look, people are going to say, "Oh yeah, but you're drinking up to 4 coffees a day." Yeah, but there were times I was drinking 1 coffee a day. You know, and there aren't that many people out there that only drink 1 coffee a day.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
not
like
even
there's
2. They
not
drink
very
a
many
lot
people
more.
that smoke 1 cigarette a day either.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen the benefits. Again, you know, as I said, my sleep quality. I fall asleep as soon as my head hits the pillow. I'm out, and it's a really deep sleep. And you know, even if it's a 5 or 6 hours sleep, I wake up. You know, I'm not like feeling groggy, and I've just got so much more energy, and I've got a lot more energy throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people have things like acid reflux or stomach pain or whatever that is actually triggered by things like coffee. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day and then convinced they've got this hernia that causes their heartburn or acid reflux or GERD or whatever. And I was trying to get the point across that it's probably diet, you know, because they were drinking the alkaline water all the time. And you know, I'm like, you know what, why would you dilute your stomach acid all the time? Oh, because I get this heartburn or whatever. And I'm like, you know, it's probably your diet. No, I have a hernia. It's like, well, you probably have stomach contents leaking back up that are causing this hernia-like condition, right? And it's hard for people to wrap their head around the fact that it might just be their diet. And how easy is it just to change your diet to see if it's right or not? You know, we're not talking about taking some wacky drug or something. It's like, hey, maybe it's the coffee, maybe it's the donuts, maybe it's the pancakes, whatever. Uh, but changing your diet can change your life, right? And it's really not that hard. I mean, it might be a little harder than getting a prescription or swallowing some pills or drinking some fancy water or whatever, but you know,
Yeah, but people are too emotionally attached to their food.
yeah, for sure.
And and coffee as well. Like they're not going to give up coffee. And we see people that have gone on to the carnivore diet. And again, this is just my experience. But and they say, look, yeah, I'm on a carnivore diet, but one thing I won't give up is my coffee. I have 1 or 2 coffees a day and that's it.
Yeah, we do recommend for a lot of people in the beginning, like don't tackle that right off the bat. It's more important to start eating the right food and then think about giving up the coffee, right? Now, some people are better off jumping in full steam, right? Some people completely change their diet, start hitting the gym, give up coffee. They go to their kitchen and throw everything out. They make their whole family do it. And that works for some people. But for a lot of people, it's more important to just like, okay, look, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the grocery store, you're going to buy the right food, and you're going to start eating it every day, right? And that is a big step for some people. If you told them you got to give up coffee and you got to go to the gym, you try to do that, and then when they have a problem, you may not know exactly what the issue is because they're changing so many things at one time.
Yeah, and as bad as coffee is, which I totally agree with Joe on that, as bad as coffee is, this doesn't seem to stop the transition effect of going full carnivore. So
yeah, people seem to do
definitely
better
recommend them
even if they drink coffee, huh?
Yeah, that's what I noticed. And they seem to be able to take more fat in because of the coffee, because they use that as a vehicle, like you said.
Yeah, if you want to get more fat in, just drink it. If you want to put weight on, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, Justin, what'd you find?
Yeah, so I did grab Paul Saladino's book. I did finish it cover to cover, so nah. So this is Paul Saladino, page 222 for those that are following along. Um, so I like it starts here. Coffee, it contains polyphenols, um, caffeic acid, and chlorogenic acid that have been found to damage DNA at levels present in a single cup. In his paper on plant pesticides, Bruce Ames notes roasted coffee is known to contain 826 volatile chemicals. 21 have been tested chronically, and 16 are rodent carcinogens. Caffeic acid, a non-volatile rodent carcinogen, is also present. A typical coffee contains at least 10 milligrams or 40 parts per million of rodent carcinogens, mostly caffeic acid, catechol, furofurol, hydroquinone, and hydrogen peroxide. Dr. Ames isn't the only one to highlight the potential mutagenic potential of compounds in coffee. Researcher Louise Minen notes some polyphenols may have carcinogenic or genotoxic effects at high doses or concentrations. Caffeic acid, for example, when present at a 2% level in the diet, induced 4 stomach and kidney tumors in rats and mice. Linear extrapolation of these data indicate appreciable risk at normal dietary levels. So, pretty interesting.
Well, I just like to invoke the age-old, "Hey, we're not rodents."
Right.
So screw the rat studies, but no, actually, there you go. There's some pretty good evidence that coffee is not good for us, and I personally don't think it's a health food. I think it's one of those things you drink it and you are essentially, putting yourself at risk. You're probably steering away from optimal health or optimal performance. But if you really enjoy it, you really enjoy it, right?
Totally. Right.
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, throw in some butter, throw in some beef fat, have some steak with it. Wait, no, don't have steak in it because it makes it harder to absorb. You know, Bart K said something on one of his streams where he was drinking the coffee. And I think he said, now, Bart, he's going to be on in a later episode again. But so we could ask him directly. But he said he would take some citric acid afterwards, I guess, to flush out the deleterious effects. I'd really like to ask him about that, though. Tom, do you know one thing, one way or another, citric acid? If that would be, I don't know, just like adding more acid on acid? I mean,
Well, that's vitamin
Okay.
C, right? Citric acid.
correct.
So yeah, I don't know why he does that, but perhaps it's because there, you know, maybe the coffee lowers your vitamin C levels. I would imagine he's compensating, but I don't know. You have to ask him. You have to ask the wizard what his deal is with that.
Right. All right, just wanted to throw that out there.
It's a good question. So yeah, so Joe's giving up coffee, and by the way, Joe, you know, here in the States, Joe is a nickname for coffee. Did you know that?
Really?
Joe, yes.
Cup
Yeah.
of Joe.
Yeah, give me a
Cup
cup
of
of
Joe.
Joe. That's what we say.
Wow. You guys are weird.
Hot cup of Joe.
Makes me feel normal.
All right, Tom. So how do you like your coffee? Has it changed throughout the years? Have you ever gone just pure black? Do you like MCT? Do you like cream? Did you ever do girly coffee? For those, what's girly coffee? Just so you can explain girly coffee.
I think my absolute favorite is just cold pressed. Just about any kind of cold pressed coffee is superior. Got my little cold press here. I actually made this yesterday because I screwed up and I thought we were filming this yesterday. But if you've never had cold pressed coffee, it's actually lower in acid and it has a much smoother flavor. But you know, so that's my favorite, and I'm not really all that picky about. I mean, some of them, yeah, I'd say if I could have any coffee I want at any time, it'd definitely be one of those Sumatras. You know, I love that bold. I always thought in my back of my mind that that the reason why the coffee from Sumatra was so good is because angry tigers probably piss on the coffee plants after they eat a couple villagers. But I don't know that for a fact. But yeah, I'm down for the heavy French roast, and I think that's the thing too. Is a lot of those coffees that I get don't have as much caffeine in them as like a Starbucks, or even I've had like a cup of U-Ban and just been like, what the hell, man? Just woo! But when you get that really dark roasted stuff, a lot of the caffeine gets destroyed. Now I know in process some of the stuff that they serve at places like Starbucks, I've heard that like they actually, a lot of them do have really high caffeine levels even if they're dark roast. So again, we could defer back to the idea that the dose makes the poison, right? A little bit probably not going to hurt you, a lot of it probably will hurt you. So but yeah, no, I like a cold press Sumatra if I could get it. And I do like the MCT oil, and the MCT oil really has nothing to do with flavor because it's flavorless, right? And you brought that bottle over. What you stopped the MCT oil? Why? Because you cut out coffee, or because the MCT oil didn't agree with you?
I was a crazy person that was trying to do tablespoons of MCT oil straight. And that was upsetting my stomach, but my brain felt great. And I was like, I could deal with a little bit of stomach upset with my brain being like super sharp. And then you throw on some Sammy on top of that, and man, I was flying. I felt like A Beautiful Mind, you know, the movie, except without the schizophrenia. But then,
That's debatable.
right? Um, but then, you know, the grumbling of the stomach led to, as soon as I get to the office, I'm making a mad dash for the toilet. You know, the lady says she's supposed to take my temperature. And I was like, look, I promise if I get anyone sick, I'll leave. but I seriously, you're gonna have a much bigger mess to clean up in the front if you don't let me go to the bathroom. True story. Yeah. And so it was after that, I was like, nope, can't do it anymore. Not gonna play that game. That's just too much of a gamble, you know. But yeah, I've had the MCT at your house with the coffee. That goes down pretty smooth, pretty good. You know, I feel like for me, coffee does mess with my migraines. I do seem to get a headache a couple of days after, you know. I don't quite know exactly what that is. You know, it could just be, you know, plants are toxic and my body is just like, no, just like no more plants, you know. I just think I'm just one of those people that are that sensitive. But probably if I did a cup of coffee once a month, probably be cool. I can deal with that, you know. I think it's if I do any more than that or bi-weekly, maybe that would be okay. But I just don't, I've never been a big coffee person, so it's not a huge thing for me. And I really haven't been drinking any tea either, so I'm not sure if that would be different. But yeah, very much like Joe and Raymond, I'm caffeine free. I mean, I get up, no problem. My sleep is better so long as weather permits. And I don't notice any lack of performance, you know, in the morning as far as, you know, intellectually, you know. Um, and so I think for a boost, and I want to try it, I think Joe is definitely on it though. Like, just have fat in the morning. Like, you know, if you're trying to give out coffee and you want that buzz, you want a hit of something, a hit of fat. I mean, fat does make you happy. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, if you got to fry up some fat, have frozen fat, you know, whatever, or just a cup of butter and an egg. I don't know, hot water, butter, and egg. I don't know. We could get creative here, you know. I feel like, you know, that might work. Anyway,
Too funny, Joe. So Joe, you didn't find coffee to be a performance enhancer, huh?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Actually, no, not at all. If anything, I think I'm performing better without it. Actually, I am performing better without it. But Tom, I'm going to send you this. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see it.
keeps going in and out. There we go. Oh, the luwak coffee, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So
Looks
this-
good now.
Little cats
this
that
is-
poop it out.
Yeah, so this is coffee from Indonesia, and I actually tried this coffee when I was in Malaysia back 5 years ago, and it's the most expensive coffee in the world. And basically, it's a Indonesian cat, as you can see there, that eats the beans, craps them out, and they collect them. And
Sounds very special.
yeah, they it tastes like shit. No, just kidding. They
Not
wash
just
them
any
out
shit,
and
cat shit.
cat shit. But it's the enzymes in the stomach of the luwak, the cat, the feral cat, the wild cat, that changes the structure of the bean. So yeah, that's how much I liked coffee. I used to get all this stuff.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Tom, I would like to cover one small area if we could before we end this.
Yeah.
I know we're wrapping it up. So what is your idea about the anthropological evidence of coffee? I mean, has it been around 5,000 years, 10,000 years, longer, shorter?
No, it's like 1,000 years or something. I believe it was discovered in the highlands of Ethiopia, wasn't it?
You're the anthropologist of the group, Tom.
No,
I really
I
don't
think it was
know.
a goat herder. Yeah, it was like his goats were eating the beans, and you notice they got all jumpy. You know, they were dancing around, and that's how it came to be part of our diet. Let's see, 15th century, the earliest credible evidence of coffee drinking or knowledge of coffee tree appears to be in the middle of the 15th century in the accounts of Ahmed al how far? In Yemen. So is Yemen. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, it's not that old really. So, but I mean, it could be that people enjoyed it before that, but we don't have any knowledge of it. So it's not like you find coffee beans in people's graves like you do like cannabis and stuff like that, you know. So that was apparently well known all over the place. You don't see depictions of coffee beans like you do, you know, magic mushrooms or, you know, all these cave paintings, you know, of animals and stuff like that. So not hasn't been with us that long. So
and
Well,
probably
that
having
we're
the
aware of.
that we're aware of.
right, and probably having the technology, you know, to extract the bean and to crush it up and then turn it to powder and then the hot water to liquefy it. So yeah, has it because you know sometimes people are like, oh well, if humans have been doing it forever or been eating it forever, then it should be okay, and you guys are just weird. But like whenever this plant conversation, I really like a point you always talk about, Tom, is that these plants aren't that old, you
Right.
know, and the coffee seems to fall within that same realm and range.
Yeah, and I
But
don't think that coffee, you know, is like something you can live on. You know, it's more like you know, it's a beverage. It's probably an anti-nutrient, if anything. So we drink it because it's enjoyable, because it has an interesting effect, not because um, you know it's nourishing our bodies or it's sustaining us. Really, it might wake us up, but it's not giving us calories. That's for sure. In fact, I think coffee by itself is a negative calorie, right? It causes you to burn more calories without
Right,
providing any, something like that. So
I
right.
just want to say, back to you, Justin.
Hmm.
Although coffee's been around for quite a while, testing is quite new. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people might say, oh, but we've been drinking it for thousands of years and no one's ever had an issue. Well, thousands of years ago, they didn't have MRIs and blood tests and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's pretty new. So I
And
think
and they didn't have frappuccinos. I'm sorry, but there's a huge difference between a black cup of coffee and a frappuccino. Like I always make the joke that like, okay, if you have a kid, would you give them a milkshake for breakfast? And parents are always like, no, no, no. But then you go to Starbucks at 8 a.m. or when there was school, when they would have to drive their kids to school because the parents are you know driving, you know, gonna have to go to work, and so they're grabbing their coffee, so then their kid sees their parent do it, so they're bugging them for a coffee. And so, but they're getting like a frappuccino because they're a kid, oh, the sugar, you know, donut, and a frappuccino for breakfast. I mean, then their kid can't sit still in class, and I wonder why. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely mental. And it's like, I'm sorry, a frappuccino is a milkshake. It's just a milkshake, people.
it's a
That's all it
milkshake with
is.
coffee in it.
it's coffee.
Right, exactly. And so I think it's funny. And I did pull up some more data that average age of a person starts drinking coffee is 13.
Yeah, I was probably the early 20s when I started drinking. I don't
You
know.
said average?
Is
That's
thir-
average?
Average is age 13,
Not the
yes.
youngest.
Not
Average.
the average, yes.
Wow.
Most people report that they had their first cup or roughly uh, at age 13.
I think that's
That's
when the
probably
Inuits start smoking typically too.
yeah, but that's probably right because I mean when I went to Europe, the young kids were drinking coffee. They're at the bar drinking, you know, espressos or you know, cappuccinos. You know, so yeah,
I guess
it probably
so.
sounds right.
Yeah, it's interesting that, you know, like I keep going back thinking about how like Joe didn't get any performance enhancement out of drinking coffee. You got stomach problems instead because you know, Zach Bitter will take a caffeine drink. I think he switched to like an yerba mate tea,
Mm.
and he was taking that and that stimulant effect while he's actually in the middle of a race. Of course, he does really really long races. And I tried that yerba mate tea because I was like, oh, you know, it might be a nice change from drinking coffee, but um, I didn't get the same enjoyment out of it. So But maybe I give my tea to Justin since he's a tea drinker. Maybe he'll enjoy it. So
That yerba mate, that stuff had me lit. Like for
Really?
real. Yeah, it had me off the walls. Yeah, the yerba mate, it's really good. But like I could only drink like a half bottle because if I drank the whole bottle, I wasn't sleeping.
I've never had it bottled, but I have the tea bags. I ordered some just to give it a try, and I tried it, and I was like,
Well, was that an actual tea bag? Or was it a sachet with like a
the hell is the
powder in it or
difference between
something?
a tea bag and a sachet?
Well, tea bags got leaves in it, and the sachet is like a powder.
Oh.
It's like
I had no
it looks
idea.
like ground up leaves to me. I don't know.
No, usually tea bags got like loose leaf in it, and the sachets are like a dissolvable.
Oh,
powder.
dissolvable? No, it's a tea bag.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sachet.
and that's not
That's a
necessarily what
first.
Zach was using during the race, but because I think he was using some sort of product that was like pre-made or something, so they didn't have to brew tea on the trail or something like that. But
Yeah, I think Ben Bickman did work with that company that Zach was getting it from.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just it doesn't have, to me, it's like it barely has any flavor. I mean, that's the other thing is, I mean, you like espresso, which is probably about as strong as it gets, but here, I like really bold flavored coffee, and it's a lot of it's just enjoying the aroma and the flavor and everything else. And I think the best flavor comes from the cold pressed coffee, and it's got to be nice clean water. It's got to sit for a while, the whole 9 yards, and then it's just magic.
Do you guys have cold drip over there?
Rare, but yeah, it is. And every once in a while, you see one of these machines from Japan they use where it drips real slow. Yeah. Thought about building one of those because I thought it would look cool.
It looks like a trophy.
Yeah, looks like fun. So, all right. Well, I think we killed this topic.
We can't do this without saying the best part of waking up is, come on, Tom, you know it.
Folgers in your cup.
Folgers in your cup.
Folgers in your cup. I grew up with that.
Yeah, I remember hearing that all the time.
Right? That's an American like jingle right there.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, I guess our advice is don't drink too much coffee. And if you don't enjoy it, definitely don't drink it because it's probably bad for you, but we don't know. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows what the right amount is. So hopefully we can all just eat some more meat and feel better. And whatever you do,
don't fall down the carb hole.
That was atrocious. I love it.